What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again for another preview stream. This time we are previewing the massive game on Wednesday night. Spurs take on AC Milan in the Champions League in the second leg of the round of 16. It's a very big game in Tottenham's season, probably our biggest game of the season to date. Spurs having to overturn a 1-0 deficit from the 1-0 defeat in the San Siro after Brahim Diaz's goal early on in that game saw Spurs go down to a 1-0 defeat. We go into this game not in the best of form. We've lost our last two games 1-0, both away from home though. Our home form, encouragingly enough, is actually a bit more impressive, beating Man City, Chelsea and West Ham in our last three home games. So hopefully that will give us a bit more of a boost. Ben, as you can see, is not with me today. He is not going to be in the studio. We might have him remotely a bit later, but for the time being, you're just going to have to put up with me. But you're not just going to have to put up with me. We have a special guest who's going to help me out with today's preview. And let's get him on without further ado. Ash Matic is in the building. Not physically, but digitally. Here he is. Yes, Ash, how are we doing, mate? Good to see you.
Yes, bro. Yes, good to see you as well, man. Excitement's the biggest game of the season. It's do or die. It's all or nothing. It's to dare to do. It's going to be at home. It's in front of the fans. It's under the lights. And it's now or never for Conte. All the stakes are high. It's never been more important than Conte. We must win. The boys must turn up. We must show up. And I can't stress it enough, man. We need to do well for our season to continue to have any more interest in this game.
Damn right, and I completely agree. For a lot of fans, I think it's kind of do or die tomorrow in a way, because with the top four race becoming a bit less interesting, not necessarily less interesting in terms of are we going to be able to get it, but in terms of interest in that being a goal for our season. I think a lot of fans are kind of, I can feel it in the fan base. It's not a goal which excites the fans as much as maybe it did last season. So to keep this season alive, and I think especially for someone like Conte, who needs to feel like he has the chance of winning something, I think if we do go out tomorrow, that with that last chance of actually being able to win something gone, I do feel like a lot of energy might disappear from this squad, and I worry about maybe a slump towards the end of the season if we do exit tomorrow. But what are your feelings on that? Do you feel like it won't have a bearing tomorrow on if that happens, and the players will still be up for a fight or for top four, or do you think there's a lot riding on it?
I think it's got a massive factor on the players. I think the players, we get into it. Remember, a lot of the players, they came to Tottenham for Champions League football. So you're looking at Bissouma. Bissouma was an early signing. Even Perisic. Let me start with Perisic. Perisic was done early off the back of us getting into that top four. He said he was watching the Arsenal game. He was interested. So he had one eye to see whether he would make that jump to Spurs, to see whether or not we'll come and make that Champions League spot. So I think for him, it's important. I think for Bissouma said, it was a dream of mine to come here, you know. And in his interview, he mentioned Champions League football is so important. It's a big reason why I came to Tottenham or playing Champions League football. So I think he was another player that it's important to. And then you've got Richarlison. You saw how much it meant to him when he scored against Marseille, and he scored the 2 goals in front of the home fans. And he went up to his dad and he hugged him and he embraced him and he was tearful. Such an emotional occasion for him. It was like one of his biggest dreams as a Brazilian from the favelas to actually fulfill one of his goals and to get it over the line and actually score and make an impact for his new club. That was so important. And then again, you've got Harry Kane. Harry Kane as well, I feel it was an ambition for Kane to be playing Champions League football and have Conte at the club. So I think that was another reason for Kane to carry on and stay and not had his head turned by Man City. You know, that helped make him focus going towards that Champions League push. But I also think for Conte as well, I think even when we picked Arsenal to get that 4th place and get into the Champions League, we went into that market a lot more confident, and we got our signings done really, really early, really quick. So I do think for the players, of course, Champions League, like it's a massive competition, and you're playing against the likes of like AC Milan, and you're playing against top clubs. Like you still got PSG in the next round. Um, well, we don't know, but we've got PSG, you've got Real Madrid, you've got loads of top teams there, Dortmund. We could go on for ages, but these are Europe's elite clubs, and I think the players, if they win tomorrow, that will g up their season. They'll go on and kick on, hopefully, for the rest of the season. We need something to push us on, and I think that's going to be it. That's going to be the catalyst, and it's Conte's first game back as well. He's
Yeah,
been
and
missing.
he's been talking a lot on his press conference. Antonio Conte. We'll get into some of his quotes in a little while, but let's for the start focus on the game tomorrow and how it's shaping up. AC Milan 1-0 up in the first leg with that goal from Brahim Diaz. There were doubts about Diaz and Giroud going to this game, whether they're going to be fit. Seems as though they will be. If we look at the form going to this game, it was interesting because the form last time was Spurs were not necessarily in good form going into it, but AC Milan had won their last couple games, I believe, moving to a back three. They kept up that form pretty much after beating us, but they have lost their last game on the weekend to Fiorentina away from home, 2-1. Spurs come into this in dreadful form in terms of when it comes to away from home. We've lost our last two games, but at home we have had the upper hand. We've won our last three. If you look at it, I think this is the crucial thing to take away from this form graphic is you look at Tottenham's home form, 4 wins out of 5 with 1 loss. You look at AC Milan's away form, 1 win in 5. 3 losses and a draw as well in there. So is that where maybe home advantage comes into play, and maybe that's where we'll gain that advantage? Because last time out in the San Siro, we were away from home. We came away with a 1-0 defeat. AC Milan, if you look at their home form, they've won their last 3 at home as well. So they definitely seem a lot stronger at home. So do you think the fact that we're playing this at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium that gives us a big advantage, Ash?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of the players have even said that, when the crowd is singing your name, it makes you feel 10 feet tall. You feel like a giant. And there's nothing more better than having the home support, the energy, being the 13th man. And you've heard it at so many other clubs as well. Like, if you mention any of the top teams, the big clubs get through because of that support, because their fans are rallying behind them. If you look at Liverpool have an excellent home form. Why? Because of their fans. Their fans get behind them. And I feel like if we get behind Tottenham, the Tottenham players, the squad, if we get behind those boys, I think we can make a real difference, especially if things aren't going too well, because there's going to be periods where we don't have the ball. And there's going to be periods when it's not going our way. And when we're away from home against Wolves, we didn't have that. We didn't have anyone to pick up the energy of the boys when we didn't have the ball, and the momentum shifted a bit. Do you understand? We only had the away fans. The away fans were doing that part, but when it's different when you're under the lights and you're in front of the home crowd and you've got that south sound like right behind that goal, just creating so much noise, so much energy. I think it can make a real difference, and I think it shows in the form graphic, as you said.
Yeah, and I think as well, just psychologically, when you know that you play so well at home, or or maybe not play so well, but you're definitely getting the results at home against some against some big teams like Man City, winning 1-0 against them not so long ago. Obviously 2-0 against Chelsea and 2-0 against West Ham. So just psychologically, I think it makes a big difference in the player's mind when you're getting those big results at home, and then you go away from home and things are a bit lackluster, and you're maybe not getting the same outcomes, knowing that this game is at home in front of the home crowd, where Champions League nights at the Tottenham Stadium can be a bit special. We've seen that in the past as well. I definitely think that makes a big difference, and hopefully we see that energy from the start tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to how we can compete against AC Milan, who maybe away from home don't seem to be the same outfit as they are at the San Siro, and they have lost their last game against Fiorentina. Maybe that will play on their mind as to coming into this game. So I think home advantage tomorrow is going to be absolutely massive, and we need the fans to be as loud as possible, and hopefully that will drag us through to a quarter final. And look, as much as people keep saying, you're deluded if you think you're going to win the Champions League, and there's no chance you win the Champions League. And obviously, they're probably right in terms of our chances of winning the Champions League. But tell that to Liverpool in 2005. If you would have, if they would have said that, you would have called them deluded. Tell that to Chelsea in 2012. If you would have told a Chelsea fan in 2012 they would have won the Champions League, you would have called them deluded as well. So the Champions League is a weird trophy. You never know what can happen in that trophy. And we've also proven ourselves under Conte to be able to compete with big teams and go toe to toe with them on our day, and especially make it tight games, especially against the likes of Man City. So, look.
And also, Sim, what better team than Milan? A team that Conte knows really well. Do you know what I mean? Inside out. It's his biggest rival. And as you were mentioning before, we often don't mention the psychological factor as a coach and how he's going to feed that onto his players. It's going to lead a lot more to him to beat Milan and progress. It also, for him as a coach, to get to a latter stage, a quarter final, going that step further where he's never gone as a coach. Maybe that him having that goal is going to spur him on, no pun intended. But we need those little small antidotes to come into the dressing room and to get into the minds and the psychologies and the psyches of the players' minds to build up the big game pressure. Because sometimes you need good pressure to kind of get your players up for the game, and then also you need your big players, your big characters to turn up and to lead as well.
Yeah, and especially for players like, as you say, big characters like Kane, like Son, tomorrow, this is a big occasion for them. Because to get to a Champions League quarter-final would be very important for these players to have that feeling that they can still really compete for something big. And being a Champions League quarter-final does keep that feeling, in my opinion. And hopefully it keeps that during the season. And also for Conte himself, we talk about what his how important like something like this is for him and so on. You got to remember, Antonio Conte has never made it past a Champions League quarter-final in his career. So this is a blot on his copybook when it comes to his achievements as a manager. His European form is something that you can bring up to kind of imply that he could be, maybe that's the reason he's not up there with Guardiola or Klopp or some of these other managers when it comes to how elite he is, because of his record in Europe. And I think he'll know that, and he'll want to put that right. And so getting to the quarterfinal for the second time in his career, especially with a team like Tottenham, would mean something for him, and especially with the opportunity of getting further in the competition as well. That would mean a lot to him, do you think?
Yeah, and I think it would be a great deal. I mean, coaches, they're very driven, especially elite coaches. They're very driven by results, accolades, and that's what makes them who they are. And he has that kind of personality as well, that kind of wants that challenge. He wants that pressure. He wants to go one step further, especially with these group of boys. I really think he actually likes the group of boys that he has in front of him. I actually likes the characters, the personalities, and he's going to want to demand a lot more from them. Since he's been out, he's had time to actually look from the point of view that fans have from at home, from watching the TV screen, to see how the players get on. And also he's been talking to his coaching staff as games have been happening. So he's had the touchline experience, and also he's had the experience where he's not been on the touchline. He's seen it from an aerial view, like how we see it sometimes as fans. But I also wanted to mention how if we look at Pochettino's last season, when we did make it to that Champions League final, we weren't doing so well in the league as well. Mm-hmm. And I draw comparisons from that. And the good run from that Champions League, we had big teams we had to play and knock out. We had to knock out massive teams to get to where we had to get to. And I just draw some comparisons. A good run, I'm not saying that we're going to go all the way or get to the final, but I'm just saying that a good run can really help the season, because we ended up staying in that fourth position, and we ended up getting Champions League football as a result of it. And I know that a lot of fans, fourth doesn't really mean anything, because that we've achieved fourth already. But I think for some players, I'm just taking a guess that some players, that they really do enjoy these Champions League competitions, and they want to stay in the Champions League. As much as some fans say, look, we'll be better off playing in, coming out of Europe altogether and just focusing on one game, because we're looking for the greater good and the upturn in performances, and we looked better when we were playing one game a week. So I do get that argument, but I just think for the players, they're really ambitious. When I hear Højbjerg come out on interviews, I always hear him talking about, we're not happy with fourth. So that gives me the indication that these players do have their own aspirations, their own goals, and their own achievements that they want to succeed at Tottenham. I don't think they're happy with the fourth place. As much as the fans aren't happy, I don't think the players are either. I think they want to have a bigger impact on the Premier League. They didn't come here to compete, and I think that's installed from Conte. Conte didn't come to Tottenham to finish fourth. He didn't. He came to win, and I think the whole staff were really disappointed. The whole team, the whole club was disappointed when we got knocked out of those cups. And we need to use that energy to kind of help us in games. And I like the fact that the games are coming quick and fast, because we have a chance to turn it over very quickly again and correct what we did wrong.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's really crucial that we put it out of our minds. And I think maybe in a weird way, the fact that Conte is now back, even though I'm sure he was involved in the games between Sheffield United and Wolves as well in terms of selection, whatever. But I just think his presence and him being back and his energy will be a bit of a even if it's just a short-term thing, it will be a bit of a reset for the players. It will be maybe a kind of, hopefully you can get something extra out of them, him coming back from Italy, because I think him being away for so long, Stellini having to take charge, I'm sure, look, clearly Stellini was getting some good performances and results out of the players for a short while, but I think the longer it went without Antonio Conte, that uncertainty about next season as well probably comes to the forefront of everyone's minds while he's not here, and that energy that he brings to the coaching and to training and to the matches, I think maybe he gives the players a chance to kind of miss it a bit in a way, because maybe the players, when it happens, maybe they like get annoyed and pissed off that Conte's always going at them and stuff, but then maybe it's kind of one of those things where they don't appreciate it until it's gone, and now the time it went and now it's coming back, hopefully it can represent a bit of a bounce for the players and have him back in training and have his energy. If we're looking at AC Milan, no, tomorrow we've picked out two of the star men who we have to watch out for, and there's no surprises in the players. Rafael Leao being the main one, 8 goals and 6 assists in 23 starts this season. He's really coming into his own in Serie A, and obviously a Portuguese international, played at the World Cup, scored at the World Cup as well. He's going to be a massive danger, and he was probably their biggest danger man when it came to the first leg as well. Even though he didn't score, he was the real one taking the game to us, I felt, on the left-hand side. And obviously Olivier Giroud, a striker who always seems to find big moments in big games. One with supreme hold-up play, a real tricky customer when it comes to crosses in the box, and still a very underrated striker even now. And they've got the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Divock Origi if things are not working for Olivier Giroud. But in terms of their danger men, are those the two you're looking at and thinking, if we can stop AC Milan, if we can stop those two, we can stop AC Milan pretty much?
Yeah, because in the first game, I felt that Emerson Royal was against Leao quite a lot of the times, and I thought that Leao was getting the better of him, and even Hernandez, I would say as well. I think a lot of the crosses were coming in from Leao, and a lot of the dribbles down that side, Emerson wasn't able, or even Romero wasn't able to deal with Leao's trickery. And it's almost funny. I always see Leao, he plays with a smile on his face, a bit like Ronaldinho. He's always happy when he's dribbling at players. So you could just tell that he's a tricky customer, and when you're playing like in a happy state, this is another psychological thing as well. When you're playing in a happy state, you've got less pressure, less anxiety, and you're not thinking about what you're going to do next. It comes almost instinctively, and when you're more instinctive, that means you can chop, you can change, you can come inside, you can come outside, and he was doing that. He was really hard to deal with, and he was their most forward player. Giroud was high up, so Giroud would get the ball in. Sometimes he'd flick it on, or he'd do a one touch, and then Leao would run onto balls. And if he wasn't running onto balls, he was dribbling it and then crossing it into Giroud. Giroud was the danger man, and he was getting those knockdowns inside the box, or he was trying to finish what Leao was crossing in. And sometimes Leao would come inside as well, and he would have a shot himself. So I've looked at some of the heat maps, and it's all on Emerson's side, all on Emerson's side.
The
And
heat maps
Emerson,
of who? Sorry, the heat maps of Leao.
sorry, Leao.
Yeah, you could. Do we have them? Can we bring that on? Yeah, just give us a sec. We can bring that on the screen. No, it's, it'll be his Leao's heat map. No. Oh, did you send it? Don't know if we can see it. Is that everything?
Well, just to add to that,
Yeah, go on.
as you're bringing it up, he had 6 crosses from that side, and obviously two of them were accurate. So 2 of them ended up in chances, and he had 3. He had 4. He created 4 long balls with 3 of them actually reaching their target. So you can see they're about they like to go direct. They like to go direct. So when he's not dribbling and he's not crossing into the box, he's also got a trick in him that he can do a long ball into their front line, into Giroud. So he's dangerous on that side as well. So it's not just the crossing that we're looking out for, but yeah, Emerson Royal did have a problem on that side, even down to like the first goal. Just moving away from Leao for a second, the long ball came in from the fence. They did a long ball, and Romero got underneath it, and they won a header, and that's ultimately what created the shot, which beat the shot was saved by obviously Foster, and then the goal was headed in, and that was the first goal, and that was down that side, and then in the second half, sorry, it just continued. It was like constantly they were threat down that side. So I think it's just another something that we have to look at, because we always talk about Emerson, how good he is defensively, but in that game, Leo also completed 8 dribbles. So that's quite a high amount of dribbles to complete during the game, especially if you're against Emerson Royal. And you know how good Emerson Royal was against Grealish. He brought Grealish down, and Grealish is quite a good dribbler, but Leo seems to be like a different level, a different customer.
Yeah, and having said that, so there's a lot of talk about who should be playing in the wing backs. Obviously, Dye is suspended anyway, so we know that that might affect who we can play at wing back. But with Leao's threat from that side, would you say we have to go with Emerson on the right and Perisic on the left, or would you consider maybe Porro with Perisic on the left, or what were you thinking?
I can't see, if it wasn't for Dyer, you could have a different debate, but I can't see anyone defensively anyway. I can't see anyone else that's going to live with Leo on that side. I think he's their biggest threat going forwards. I think a lot of the play comes through him and Giroud, and so you need to have you have a stopper at source. So if one of our strikers or one of our double pivots push up the field and they stop the defenders from putting those long balls in, or they stop someone like Tonali doing those long balls from midfield, because he likes to do a long ball as well. If we try to stop those balls in from behind, from the source, then that's another way to stop the ball getting to Leao. But once the ball's got to Leao or Hernandez on that side, then I can't see Porro defensively being as good as Emerson Royal. And then obviously you need Romero there to back him up as well and be front-footed. And when it comes to Jules, ground Jules, those are our two most productive players defensively. So I think you have to go with Emerson on that right. So then you look at your left wing back and you think defensively, you probably would want someone like Davies because defensively, Perisic is quite shy, especially when it comes to like blocking shots, making challenges, interceptions. That's not really his strongest point. So defensively, yeah, Perisic is a concern. He can switch off as well, and because of his legs as well, he sometimes pushes high up, and he's not able to get back in time. Or sometimes he's walking back when he should be running back. As a wing back, it's a very demanding position, and he needs to get back on side as soon as possible to help out his back five. But in saying that, watching a game from what I saw, I don't think a lot of their threat was coming on that right hand side. I think the threat was coming down more their left hand side, which Leo was operating down. And I think Perry had a better game at AC Milan. I think he was up and down, especially in that first half. He was up and down that pitch quite a bit. And there's an argument to say he put on like one of his best performances against Milan. He was really, really high up the pitch, really affected them. And he really, even though they went three at the back, he was affecting those areas wide. And he was getting a lot of crosses in. He was getting a lot of crosses in when he was in that position. So the thing is with Perisic, he's making a lot of crosses. So he made, in that game, I believe he made between 10 and 14 crosses. And when you're making that many crosses, we saw it against Wolverhampton. I even heard you say this. Get in the box! Get in the box! We don't have enough players attacking that box. The start of the season, the first thing I noticed when we played against Southampton, when we played against Fulham, when that ball got onto the left-hand side and the ball went in, it was from fullback. It went from wing back to wing back. From wing back to wing back. So if Perisic is crossing the ball, you need to see the likes of Emerson Royale on the back post. You need to see the likes of Son on the front post. And you need to see the likes of Kane and maybe one of our double pivots taking a risk and pushing up a bit higher and attacking that box. Because guess what? People complain about Perisic's crossing, but we all know he likes to hang it. So if he likes to hang it, attack that back post, make sure you're in there, make sure there's enough bodies to affect that position. So when he does cross it, we've got more players and we've got more chance of scoring a goal. We're not taking advantage of how many crosses he's putting into the box. I am not happy that he doesn't take his man on as much as he would do in his younger days. Because for some reason he's checking in and he's with Perisic, with a lot of the players, not just Perisic, he's not opening his body up. So his body is square. So when he receives the ball, his back is to goal. And when your back is to goal, when you take your first touch, your first touch is not positive. And when your first touch is not positive, it's easy to defend against because you have to run back towards the goal before you turn around and then you run forward. But if your body is side on, if you open your body up, your first touch can be positive. You can drop off that first. If you drop off your player and your first touch is positive, that first touch can beat a player, and then guess what? You've got space to run into. And then before you know it, you don't have to always do the same floated cross. You could do a cutback. You can take it to the byline. You could even have a shot yourself because you've got the advantage. Or you could do a 1-2. And the thing I don't really, which frustrates me about Perisic at the moment, is that he's a bit rigid staying wide. He needs to interchange a lot more with whoever's playing on that left-hand side. May it be Son or even one of our left-sided centre-backs. If they push up, they all need to interchange because we need to overload one side to affect the game. Go on, Tim. like you want to
Yeah,
add
no,
in.
no. I think you're absolutely right, and I think that we don't take advantage of when Perisic whips crossing the box. I think a lot of the time he'll put in a cross, and actually it is a good cross, but no one will be there, and that's because we don't have enough players in the box. But then again, a lot of the times as well, especially recently, he's been failing to get quality in the box. His crosses have been blocked way too often, and sometimes we have had players in the box and he hasn't been able to find them, and that's also been quite disappointing of late. I do feel like performances have dropped off massively since the World Cup. However, I'm hoping that it's just a temporary lapse in form, and hopefully he can regain that, maybe with Conte being back, the manager who made him into one of the best wing backs in Europe at a point. Maybe that can spark him again into improving his performances, but of late he definitely hasn't been of standard. But I agree with you, I do think Milan was one of his better performances in recent weeks. I do worry a bit that he's played a lot of football. He played 90 minutes against Sheffield. He played 90 minutes against Wolves. So for a 34-year-old, he is playing a lot of football, and that is a bit of a concern. But I don't know if I agree. I don't know if we have I don't know if we really have a proper alternative, unless we. I don't know if we have a real alternative. Yeah, unless we. I don't know. No, we have to start him unless we got Emerson on the left.
I thought of something because Emerson on the left gives you no attacking threat or attacking intent. The best thing Emerson could do on the left is hold up the play, come inside a lot more, and if he comes inside a lot more, that allows Son to pull wide. And I saw Gakpo do devastation pulling wide when he swapped over with Nunes. He basically got that first goal because he pulled wide, cut back inside and shot. And then even the second goal, he pulled wide. And we haven't seen Son pull wide on that, especially on that left-hand side. We haven't seen him pull wide, especially when Perisic is on the pitch. And I don't know whether that's a respect thing where Perisic, I don't know, in the dressing room, you see it a lot where, or on the sidelines, you see Perisic was constantly coaching Sessegnon, like being the big man. So I don't know if he's doing the same thing to Son. And like he said, "Rah, this is my side. I don't want to see you on this side." Or the way he plays, he just doesn't switch over. Do you understand? But I thought because like Conte said that he would play Kulu as a wing back. And I know a lot of people like, oh, he can't play Kulu wing back. He's much better forward. But he's a left footer. And I did see him when Perisic was missing that game. I can't remember what game it was. He was taking the corners. Kulusevski. And I think if Kulusevski was playing left wing back, he could whip balls in. He could, because remember, he has got a right foot. I know he doesn't, I know he's not predominantly right footed, but he can come inside on his right and he can confuse players because people think, oh, he hasn't got a right, but he has shot with his right before. So I think having Kulusevski as a wing back could be another option. Who goes up top would be another debate now. Who would be in the front three would be another debate. And you know how Kulu likes to pull wide, especially when he's on the right-hand side, he likes to pull wide. So I just thought as a natural progression, he could potentially play as a left wing back as an option. I would say you could play Danjuma there, but we haven't seen enough of him, and it's too much of a big risk. Too much of a big risk. But in terms of, I don't know, I don't like to talk stats, but in terms of take-ons, he has a higher dribble rate, successful take-on than Lucas Moura, who's been played ahead of him, which I found interesting. But yeah, moving back to that wing-back position, I just thought that was an option that could be explored, especially like in-game management, because sometimes where you need something extra. You said it before. We play well for 45 minutes, and then the energy levels stop to drop. Or sometimes, you don't have the ball for 90 minutes. It's just not how it works. Sometimes the other team has possession, and you lose that momentum swing. So sometimes it'll be interesting to see if we could do a tactical switch and maybe bring a player on, but keep on maybe have 4 attacking players and be a little bit more front-footed, because sometimes when we do get rattled, we tend to sit deep and we don't push up the pitch and we don't go long, and I think that can be a problem for Spurs where we don't move up the pitch quick enough to kind of like alleviate the pressure. A lot of times we always look for either a substitutional change or a tactical change where we do a 4-4-2 formation change, sorry, a 4-4-2, and it's too little, too late. But I think just literally moving up the pitch can be a change where we're further away from our goal and we're closer to their goal and we cause them problems. And the thing I did see against the Fiorentina game, Fiorentina rattled them because they pressed high a little bit. I'm not saying Tottenham pressed high, but I'm just saying what I saw against Fiorentina, they targeted the right-hand side in the first half, and it was like 3 or 4 bodies they had on one side, and they literally just pummeled them. They just charged 3 or 4 bodies down that side. They were pushing high up the pitch, and Milan naturally sit a little bit off, a little bit more deep, and so they were able to win those battles because they numerically outnumbered them. And I just think at home, sometimes if we're trying to go for it, go for the jugular, and we've got 20 minutes or 25 minutes to go and we need to get that goal, I think as a tactic, I think moving up the pitch can make a difference. Because remember, the first time Conte was saying, we were trying to reserve the energy, we're trying to save our energy for certain times of the game. And then he got put under criticism because we were playing too deep. And he came out and he said, I don't tell him to drop deep. I don't tell him to drop deep. And so in the second half, we always see Spurs turn it around because we pushed up high up the pitch and we were a little bit more front-footed. So I think that tactic, that in-game tactic during the games could help Spurs if we're under the cosh and we need to turn things around or just get a goal.
Yeah, and it's interesting when we're talking about AC Milan because in terms of being under pressure and stuff like that, we spoke about their away form, and even since moving, they moved recently to 3 at the back, which they haven't been playing all season, and they moved 3 at the back 5 games ago after a series of indifferent results, and before playing us in the first leg, they had just lost 1-0 to Inter and beaten Torino 1-0. But then since then, they've beaten Monza away 1-0, beaten Atlanta 2-0, and beaten Fiorentina away. Lost to Fiorentina away 2-1. But interesting to say that since moving to 3 at the back, they've had 3 away games and they've lost 2 of them. So although they've had an overall uptick in form, their away form hasn't seemed to massively had an uptick since being at that 3 at the back. So maybe it's a case of that when they are under pressure away from home, you can definitely get at them and they're definitely beatable.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans are scared of Tottenham playing high press, and I'm not saying Tottenham to do high press. That's not what I'm not saying. We do Gurgen press, Liverpool style Klopp. Everyone goes front foot forward. I'm just saying sometimes Spurs are too deep, and if we move up the pitch, we will create more attacking opportunities for our front three, and we will be more front footed. So I do get it. If you push up the pitch, we haven't got the pace of we haven't got a top centre back like a Virgil van Dijk where we can sprint back and recover. If Leo's going to hit us in a counter attack, or Giroud, is breaking quickly and he's holding up the play, and so I'm saying as a unit, I think we can progress up the pitch a little bit more just to alleviate pressure. And I think my problem for me, what I see is in the last 2 games, Højbjerg has been more of a defensive midfielder rather than a double pivot. I've seen him a bit more deeper than I would like to see him. I think in the first half of the season, when Højbjerg was getting all those goals and the assists, I believe that Bentancur was the deeper of the double pivot, and Højbjerg was the more front-footed, but a bit more higher. And you saw that in the goals and assists, and then all the people that were against Højbjerg, because at one point, Højbjerg had his doubters, they were silenced because Højbjerg was scoring goals and he was assisting. And then I think what happened was they changed tack and they moved Bentancur into more of the playmaker because he's better at dribbling. He's got a bit more better attacking attributes than Højbjerg. Then you saw Bentancur get his goals up and Højbjerg kind of drift off. And in the last 2 games, you see, fans know, sometimes you get like the Højbjerg, which is amazing, and then sometimes you get a Højbjerg that is despondent and he goes missing. I just feel like I've been watching him, and I just feel like when we've got two double pivots, sometimes they play a little bit either too close to each other or they play parallel, meaning they're side by side in terms of where they are on the pitch. I think Højbjerg could push. I think if this Højbjerg can skip in the middle, I would prefer Højbjerg to be that playmaker because I think the strength. I know he's a combative midfielder, but I just feel that he has good vision and his long ball passes into the front three, especially into Kane, it can be we can take advantage of that. I think we can take advantage of that, and he does. He's got a good pass on him. He's got a good way pass on him, and he can shoot as well when need be. So I would like to see Højbjerg take up certain positions a little bit further forward.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I reckon he's better in those positions than Ollie Skip. Although Ollie Skip did score a nice goal against Chelsea. Looking at our predicted lineup for AC Milan, then if you can bring that on, I'm looking at their team. Mike Maignan, who didn't play in the first leg, is probably set to return in goal. He's played the last couple of games. You've got that front three of Diaz, Giroud and Leao, although Diaz and Giroud were doubts, but they did train today, so they're set to reprise their roles. For me, the big avenue there is Theo Hernandez on the left, who gave us loads of problems in the first leg. You got Tonali there, Alexis as well, Tomori at the back. He's been fantastic for AC Milan. Looking at that lineup, would you say that left-hand side, where they gave us so much trouble in the first leg, is that the danger? And maybe we can get at them on the right side. And we do focus a lot of our attacks on that side as well. So maybe that'll benefit us. The fact that we do focus a lot with Perisic, with Sonny down that side a lot of the time. And maybe as well, I feel like with Kulu is quite good at tracking back. You've got Emerson there, you've got Romero on their right-hand side. So maybe our team should, in theory, be really suited to combating where AC Milan are at their best and maybe as well exploiting where they're at their worst.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's definitely that our left-hand side can get at them. And I think it's just, for me, I like my teams to be interchangeable, fluid, because they would have done their homework on us. They would have seen that what are the side we like to attack down the most. They would have looked at Kane dropping in deep. They would have looked at Romero, how front-footed he is when he pushes forward. They would have looked at how Emerson checks inside a lot, does those inside runs, and they would have looked at his last performance against them. And I think they're going to be wise to that. So I think on that left-hand side for us, if I thought Longley did all right as well. There was a chance that he had where he kind of pushed forward and he actually dribbled into their box in the second half. And the difference between us and them is they scored from it, we didn't. And Longley tried to put a ball in, and their defender was better than Dyer at blocking that crossing from Longley. But the fact that Longley got involved made that extra threat on that left-hand side. And sometimes we see Longley pop up in those spots and he pulls up in the half space, and sometimes he does either a pass into the channel or sometimes he'll dribble and sometimes he'll do a diagonal pass into one of our front three. And that's what we need. We need one of our centre-backs. They take turns to push forward. And I wouldn't mind seeing someone like a Longley or even Davies, because Davies will probably be there if Perisic is there. Davies is good as well at just doing those off-the-ball runs when he's not got the actual ball himself, and he just runs into that area on the edge of the box, on the corner, on the left-hand side. That could occupy a player, and that's what it's about. Once you take a player away, that opens up holes and spaces for hopefully Son or Kane, because a lot of the time we've seen it at games where they're doubled up against, and you need another player to occupy that space to take away players. So if you've got Davies and Perisic taking players away from that left-hand side, Son pulls wide, and then even Kane pulls a little bit to the left, still central, but pulls a little bit to the left. It's going to open up spaces for maybe Kulu on the right. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? Maybe Højbjerg arrives late as well, and he's got a space. So I think that left-hand side, there, right, is definitely something we can definitely pinpoint an attack.
All right, very interesting. Obviously, Antonio Conte has been talking in his press conference. He is back after his gallbladder surgery, or after he kind of came back, and then it felt a lot of pain again, so he had to go back into recovery. But now he is back again, hopefully 100% this time. He was asked what represents success this season for Tottenham, and he said that basically he said, for me, the season represents success if we can fight for big things and to win something. And I think this has to be our target. Tottenham as a club has to need this target every season to fight for something important and to fight to win. But to win is not easy. It is not simple. And I think we are in the country where it is most difficult, where it's the most difficult country to win something, because in the Premier League, the level is really top and you have a lot of teams that want to win. Many teams are going to improve year by year, and for sure we have to try and be prepared to improve the level. And in my opinion, about myself, every season I want to fight to be competitive, to win something. If this does not happen, it's not positive for me. In that response, do you apart from the Champions League, do you think we can still represent a success this season, or does it all rest on this Champions League then for him? Do you think there's a good chance if we do go on Wednesday, he might leave before the end of the season?
I think he's not a quitter, Conte. I don't think he quits. So I can't see him walking out. That's not his personality. He's a person that keeps to his word, and he's not someone that deviates. He doesn't flip flop. He basically just stays in his lane. So I think he desperately wants to do well in the Champions League, and he's almost admitting that because the league's so hard, so many top teams. It's not Serie A where you've got like maybe 3 or 4 top teams. You've got about 6, 7 teams all pushing for top 4. So when you take that in, you put that into context and you take that into consideration, I think what he's trying to say is, by achieving a top 4 place, that in itself for us, and you have to look at the season we've had, where we've had a lot of inconsistencies in terms of injuries. Like no other club other than Liverpool and Chelsea have had as many injuries as Spurs. I'm not trying to make excuses, but you can see where they are on the table. If you look at Man United or you look at Arsenal, they've had a lot more stability. Even down to Man City, they haven't had as many injuries, but they've got like they got double players, like they've got quality throughout their whole squad. So we can't put them into the conversation. So I think had Spurs had I know it's football, isn't it? You're going to get injuries, of course, but had Spurs had a stable, as it could, solid foundation, we had more consistent performances and consistent lineups like we did in the back end of last season, like defense is not changing, front three not changing, then maybe we would have had a better run. Like, how many times have we lost a game because Romero's been missing? Do you know what I mean? Romero's being one of our better defenders, and he's been out for periods of the season. To this, even our goalkeeper's Lloris, our captain. So, like, these are foundations that if other teams like United or Arsenal, if they lost Ramsdale in goal, he's a fantastic distributor. If they lost Gabriel and Saliba for long periods, that would stop their transition, because you transition out from the back, and when you've got one of your best passers that's not available to transition out from the back, it kind of stops the attack from happening. You score less. It's harder to beat teams, to break teams down, because everything is going through that back. But I think, Conte is alluding to that. I think like he will feel that job done. It's not like a success, but for where we are and for a season we've had, top 4, and against the teams that are behind us as well, top 4 is still somewhat an achievement for him, I think, and for the club.
It's interesting. it's interesting to hear him talk about that. Like, you know, we have to improve every season. I want to fight to be competitive, and we're hearing there's the Athletic talking today, talking about some of the players, all saying there's a general feeling between the players that Conte will be off at the end of the season, and he said some players will miss him, but he said many players won't miss him as well, because of you know, they believe his training methods are too intense, all these different kind of things. But I mean, these reports, they seem to happen under every manager, don't they? When you know, we hear that the players think the manager's methods are too intense. We heard that under Pochettino. We heard under Mourinho they don't think the manager's methods are intense enough. And now we're hearing again they think the manager's methods are too intense. If there is that feeling, then I don't know how well this must end. Obviously, with this, surely it's probably going to end with him leaving. But who do you think these players are that maybe would be happy to see him leave? Like, do you believe he has lost an element of the team by what you're saying?
Well, but do you know what? At the end of the day, it's rumours, but there might be some truth in it. Who knows?
It's rumours, but the Athletic generally have pretty reliable reporting.
Yeah, I would say that always happens when your form's not good. When your form's not good, then it becomes intense. But when your form's good, guess what? You're loving training. You know, training's not an issue. Do you know what I'm saying? And that was a bad reflection on the players. Players might be lazy. Are players lazy? Is that the reason why our performances have been dropping off? Is that the reason why we're only 45 minutes? Because players mentally, I'm not talking even about a physical aspect, I'm talking about a mental aspect. Some of the players don't have that mental, that extra bit to get over the line, if that makes sense. They kind of switch off. And you've seen that with Spurs, where sometimes our concentration slips, and that's where we concede possession, we lose possession, and we end up losing it ultimately because of that. You know, we let teams back into the game where we've been dominating. And so the players that I couldn't really pinpoint a player in particular, because I don't know that player inside out, or personality wise, I don't know how they are when they're not on the pitch. But like there's players that are, I did hear Rice say, you know, to Højbjerg, nobody likes you. So I'm just starting to think, raw, when he said that, is Højbjerg the type of player? Because I bet after that 1-0 loss against Wolves and against that 1-0 loss to Sheffield United, I reckon there was a little bust up in the change rooms and a couple players were calling each other out. Do you understand? So it'll be interesting to see if it was someone like Højbjerg, you know, because he's like one of the leaders, it seems like, on the pitch. So maybe in the dressing room, he probably spoke up and say, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
so
Højbjerg's one of those players as well. Like, I've seen him like give the ball away, and then he's shouting at other players when they make a mistake. It's like, well, you just gave the ball away. So I can see that rubbing people the wrong way as well.
Yeah, the wrong way. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sick. I'm sick of hearing though from these players about training and this and that, and it's like, so every manager is the problem. Is that we're hearing with all these players, like all the time, trainings to this, trainings to that. It's like, at what point is the buck going to stop with some of these players to take responsibility? And I don't think it's people like Kane. I don't think it's people like Son who are probably complaining about the training intent. It's not these players, is it? So. Is it these same voices that we keep hearing? Like,
I don't know if it's new players as well, because I'm thinking, I don't think it's Kane, I don't think it's Son, I don't think it's Davies, because like the players that have been here the longest, they had tough regimes under Poch. Poch trained them double sessions. Do you know what I'm saying? And the players that weren't happy, he got rid of. And then he spoke about refreshing the squad. Players that didn't have that mentality, that didn't want to work for the club no more, they had to go. So it's interesting. Maybe it might be some of the newer players that are complaining and that are whinging, or players that aren't getting into the regular starting 11. They're whinging because they're not getting their chance, but they're still having to work their socks off in training, and then that negativity is feeding into the dressing room and into the other players. Do you know what I mean? Because one thing goes wrong, you're looking for any excuse to start kicking off. Do you know what I mean? Oh, well, it's not my fault. I was tracking back. I tracked back and I didn't lose the ball. You lost the ball and I was open. And then it becomes like, bickering, tick for tack, you know. But it just takes a few older players, older heads, and calmer personalities to kind of simmer things down. I don't think Emerson Royale complains about training and fitness because he's come under a lot of scrutiny, and he's one of those players that I feel like he works hard. If he doesn't get right, he doesn't put his head down. He kind of goes away and comes back and he tries to get on with it and tries to do so I don't think it's a lot of players. It might be one or two, and it might not be players that are on the starting 11. So I don't know if that answers your question. But
Yeah, it's probably 100%. We know with Conte, he likes to have his doesn't like to use, a lot of the time he doesn't like to use his squad, even though he complains about having a small squad and this stuff. But a lot of the time he keeps his squad like quite tight and only swaps a few players. So maybe it might be some of the players who just aren't being picked at the moment, and that might
maybe
have these complaints about Conte.
That's why maybe we're seeing Lucas a bit more, and we're like, bro, why is Danjuma not? What's the point of bringing him? That could be one of the factors why Lucas is maybe coming on. I know Lucas is quite happy-go-lucky and he's good energy for the dressing room. Do you know what I mean? And I think the article I did read about Emerson Ryle, he was like, Lucas Moura is like a father figure to him. Do you know what I mean? So maybe he's one of the players that always gets put on because of his responsibilities, character inside the dressing room, how he picks people up. And also remember when Emerson first came, he did do the interview for him, and was a translator, and he was the one that introduced him and showed him around. When Richarlison came in, Lucas Moura was there again to kind of integrate him into the squad. He's the one that speaks Portuguese, and I know Richarlison spoke English already. He was a bit more settled in the league, but you know he's there again to kind of unite the boys. And I know Richie's got his personalities. I think Emerson was saying he's young at heart, a bit like Richarlison. He said they're very similar to that. And then maybe like because Lucas is a father, I know Emerson's going to be a father soon, but maybe that has something to do with it, and he has that responsibility. So that's what I think.
Ash, so taking all that into account, then going into tomorrow, how do you pitch it's going to go? What's your prediction? What do you think the score is going to be?
Well, showing me that graphic, this really did sway. Before this game, I was quite negative towards our performances, albeit that we've had more domination than teams. Like against Wolves, we had more possession. We were more front-footed. We had more shots on goal, albeit it was outside the box, but we were taking more shots and creating more chances than the opposition. And again, with Sheffield United, it was the same thing. But we came away with 1-0 losses. But I feel that those were away games. I think the 13th man will make the difference. I think the fact that Conte's back will make the difference again. I think that home form is going to be vital for us in the psyche of the players, in the back of their minds. Just having Conte not just in the dressing room physically, but on the touchline physically, it might help certain players, give them a boost, improve their performances when we start to dip during the game or against the Kosh, so we need to improve things. So I think Conte's coaching will help us. I think if we nullify that right hand side that we've identified, if we can somehow slow him down, because against Fiorentina he was not as effective. So I think it can be done. I know a lot of fans are saying no, you can't defend against him. It's nothing we can do about him. I think it can be if we can watch Hernandez as well and win that midfield battle with Tonali, and if Højbjerg can be a playmaker, if he can push a bit higher up the pitch, we could be a bit more front-footed, and the front three can interchange, I think we can come away with a positive result. I think we can get the job done. We could possibly, I know it sounds crazy, we could get the 2-0. We could score the first goal, and then especially if we get it early, the earlier the better. Then the fans get behind it, the belief comes in, and especially when we score a goal, we're a different team. When we score a goal, however it comes, especially Son. If Son scores or has anything to do that goal, we'll see a different team. And we just need Højbjerg and Son confident. And when those two are playing at their best, we're a different side altogether. Um,
Yeah, and I think. Oh, is he gone?
just,
No, he's just cracking. He's just lacking a bit. I would say
what,
as well. One sec, maybe we'll try and. One sec, Ash. I think you're just cracking up a bit. What I would say about our home form, for me, I think the home advantage is massive. I actually think even when you look at our European home games this season, we beat Marseille 2-0, Frankfurt 3-2. We drew to Lisbon 1-1 in what was one of our better albeit we drew 1-1. It was probably our best performance of all of them. The Lisbon game, we should have definitely won that game, and we were robbed of that last-minute winner. So I think given our home form of late as well, beating Man City, beating Chelsea, beating West Ham, I'm really hopeful going in tomorrow that we can overturn that 1-0 deficit and win by 2 goals in normal time. I've got a feeling that because there's no away goals, this could very easily go to extra time. And if it does go to extra time, who does it benefit? Does it benefit Tottenham or AC Milan? That's a good question. I'm not sure if I have the answer to that right now. But I think for me, home advantage is massive. I think Spurs should have the advantage tomorrow. I think AC Milan's away form isn't so great as well. And with Conte back as well, hopefully the crowd will be up for it. I think Spurs are going to go and win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win for Tottenham tomorrow. I really believe that we can really take the game to AC Milan and get through to the next round. And I think it's going to be absolutely crucial. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below, or put it in the chat what you reckon the scores line is going to be. Now it's your chance to have your say. Wait, Ash is back, is he? Is he still lagging a bit? One sec. I think he's still lagging a bit. Try and get back on. Is he all right? No, I think I'm going to have to leave it, Ash. But appreciate your time, mate. Unfortunately, it looks like the connection has gone a bit, so we're going to have to leave it with you there. We haven't put the link in the community section. We're going to post a link very, very soon. I'll take this opportunity then to tell you all about our upcoming trip, which I implore all international Spurs fans to look into, because we have partnered up with Looking FC, which is a company run by Eric Cantona, and they run football trips, which aim to give football fans a more authentic and football-centric trips around the world. There is no place where they do not do trips. They do trips everywhere, and they aim to link creators to their fans, so you can actually travel and meet up with your favorite creators and actually go to the game with them and experience the game and before the game with them. And we are doing a trip for the last home game of the season, which is Brentford at home, and you can actually book now for 3 nights in London, and you get a match ticket, and there's a stadium tour involved, and you get a night out with us as well. So if you click on the pinned comment right now in the chat, which is a link to book your tickets now, there's very, very limited spaces when it comes to the trip, but you have a chance, if you book the trip with us, to come to London, meet us in person. You go on the stadium tour, and you get a match ticket for the Spurs home game against Brentford, and you get to be with us before the game, a night before the game as well, and you get to be with us at the game. So go check out the link on the pinned comment right now if you're an international Spurs fan and you want to come to the last home game of the season. Maybe we're still going to be in a top 4 race at that point as well, so it could be very, very crucial when it comes to the end of the season. Is going to really it could very well matter when it comes to the results. It could be a very, very big game against Brentford. So do check it out. It's a company owned by Eric Cantona to put on authentic football trips. So do check out Looking FC and get your tickets now, because there's very, very limited spaces when it comes to these trips, and they could sell out very, very quickly. So do check out. The link is in the pinned comment right now in the chat if you're an international Spurs fan. Having said that, Are there any people at the moment looking to? Let's get some callers talking about the game tomorrow, and I think we're having some people join already. Let's get Gavin. He is calling in. You better know him as Brains McLeod. He should be joining in just a second. Bear with. Here he is. Brains, how you doing, my friend? Cheers for calling.
Well, it's been bad times, you know.
Definitely.
The therapist said this is bad for me, that I shouldn't be talking to
you. Well, here you are. You like to do things which are bad for you, Brains. We all know that. AC Milan tomorrow in what is a very, very big game in our season. How much for you, Brains, is riding on tomorrow? Because I think there's a lot of sense between the fans, maybe in between the managers and the players, that if we don't have that feeling that we can still win something this season, like what is the season leading to? And if we do lose tomorrow or draw and we do head out, that feeling of potentially winning something is definitely like factually gone. So how much for you is riding on tomorrow, whether we make it through or not?
For me, it was riding more on the FA Cup. Like everything felt like it was riding on that. And I was quite hopeful because it was like, all right, I saw their lineup, saw they dropped, players, saw they didn't care. It was like, oh, wow, this is, so, like finally we'll just step up. We'll just, and then I saw our lineup and it was like, oh, wow. Okay. We don't care as a club. We don't care. So then, and to watch that, to watch how we've been so inconsistent up and down, and just like the easy decisions are there, like the easy, like just make the right decisions. We just are incapable of doing that. Like every time it just comes, like we know AC Milan will come into this game knowing exactly what they did last time to Harry Kane. They'll know, just do the same thing. We don't need to score. Like that's an easier game, right? You don't need to score. Like set deep, put 10 people on the goal line, just try have shots at us. We're all standing on the goal line, try shoot. Like it's a way easier game. Knowing that Spurs struggle when you set deep, they struggle to like break down teams. I can't for the life of me see how we have a single chance. So I'm kind of like, I'm trying to get rid of my ticket. I'm already trying to stop myself feeling incredibly broken and depressed and hurt, like for the rest of the week. That's what it's been doing to me too much. I've just been kind of like, I'm dying for the season to be over. That's where I'm already at. I'm like dying for the season to be over.
So I guess the worst thing for you, Brains, is if we win tomorrow, now like the little bit of hope might come back, and it's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
Then I'm gonna go in and lying on the therapist couch and be like, but we won that game. It's like, you're back again. Like, what's wrong with you? But like for your question though, I definitely think to keep, like, clubs only really, like you obviously survive on you don't really survive on your hardcore fans. The truth about football is you survive when you go through the real low turns. When you go down, then all the people who used to come just to watch one player, they stop coming and your attendances are really low. And then it's your hardcore fans who keep you alive. Mm-hmm. Like Spurs have so many passive fans. We have so much passive income into the club. So like, I think the big problem is if we're completely out, I think the hardcore fans are going to take a battering. We're still like the hardcore fans still going to go and it's going to be toxic. Some of the passive fans, like they'll kind of start to drift off. Like Spurs aren't really about that. Spurs aren't really a team that takes like competing serious. We just need, we're watching like Liverpool potentially maybe turning things around. We're in fourth because teams are playing bad, because this season is nuts. This season is the craziest season that I've seen like in years, and we for some reason have managed to luck out being in fourth. But how long is that going to last? Does like being out of the Champions League, do you go like the way we've been playing? Yeah, we could really fight for fourth. Does it make you think that, or do you go, well, now that the Champions League's gone, like we're not playing good enough football to even mount any kind of a challenge for fourth? So I think it does all come down to like I'm just really interested in seeing just how toxic it gets when we're not in anything,
Yeah, because without that chance of just achieving something, because while we're in the Champions League, there's always that chance. You never know what can happen. But once that diminishes, I'm with you, Brains. I'm worried about how the end of the season ends. I don't know if a potential top 4 challenge is enough to sustain the fan base into pulling together again and being happy, especially with Conte's future increasingly uncertain. We're hearing from the Athletic that there's a quote general feeling amongst the players that Conte will be leaving at the end of the season. Also hearing that they also said in Jack Pitbritt's article that some players will miss him, but many won't miss him because they feel like his training is too intense. So like, what do you think about those things?
I mean, you got to feel that yourself, right? Like, isn't that just kind of, does that statement like surprise you in any way? Like, that's what I feel. Just when I see certain players' body language when they come on and off the pitch, like warming up, like I kind of just get that. Like when they step up to take free kicks, just their whole body language, I just feel like some players are just like, meh, like, I love the stuff that, Kulu was saying in that FedEx ad. I would love for that to be like how every Spurs player felt, but you can tell it just isn't. Like even in players like Sonny, you can tell there's just like when their lives get so incredibly good because all of the kind of knock-on effect of being good for so long, and then you reach such a level, and then you look around and you're going, that's my team behind me. Like this is the situation we're in. So I just genuinely feel like I think he's a stubborn guy. I think no one likes a coach who comes in and goes, "This is my system, and we don't play any other way." I don't care if Spurs are known for having the top scoring front line multiple seasons in a row. I don't care if Spurs are known for like a devastating attack. Like I don't care. I'm Conte. I play this way. And so that's the things for me is like, okay, well then the manager isn't playing to a team's strengths. Like I think so many of us would rather us not see defensive scared football to compensate for a bad backline and just see, but look at our attack. Like, look at our attack. Like, go for it. Just untie their hands and go for it every week. Even if we lost games, but we were playing good football, I think that we would start to go, all right, cool. Well, all we need next season is 2 good defenders. And we'd be looking forward. But at the moment, we're looking at going, we can't make a chance. We've got like the best striker on the planet and goals are drying up. And if it wasn't for him, we would be 17th, 18th on points and goals from his goals. So it's not, and we're sitting here going, and he's going to go. I think it's like extremely difficult, and I think you have to have like Nick level delusional impulses to be able to be looking at this, going like, "Yeah, no, it's fine. The house is burning down. It's fine. The kids are crying. It's fine." I think you have to be completely like ignorant to see that. Like this coach, like I get that he can have favorites, and I get that he loves Harry Kane. I get that he loves Harry Kane with a passion. I get that they have like a really good camaraderie between certain players. But for me, I think it does, as a squad, it doesn't quite work. I think you have little groups again. You can see little groups in training, players, always the same players hanging with each other in training. That's probably obviously down to maybe like language barriers and stuff. But I can just see that coach, that manager is not a people-pleasing, bring people together. He's not Poch in any way. Like, it's different playing on a field, on a training ground, and knowing that your manager's going, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you guys today. The manager brings you in for hugs. And then the manager, like, kind of gets everyone's spirits up in the kind of meetings and stuff. I can't see Conte being that. I think he's so pragmatic. He's so dark. He's so kind of like, no, we are playing my way. All my Chelsea friends are like, yeah, he did this with us. Like, until we literally got sick and tired of it. Even though they were winning, they were getting tired of it, a lot of Chelsea fans. So I think he was like, we got happy and excited because he's a big name. And that's what, Spurs, we always want a big name to come in, a big name. But I just don't think, I think you got to look at the team you've got. You've got to be willing to mold and change. Like you buy Danjuma to like even like build your attack stronger. Because if it's not happening and you're playing from the start, give him 60 minutes. Then change him and then bring on Danjuma. Kane, you can rest him every now and then and have Richarlison play through the center, or start with Richarlison and then bring on Kane at 45. Why do we have to stick to these insanely dumb, 80 minutes? And now everyone's got to come on and try get a chance. This is what I'm saying about he's so rigid in his way that it's like it just doesn't work for a team like Spurs.
In terms of Wednesday, if we do go out, like, do you see him do you see him potentially leaving before the end of the season if we do go out?
A part of me would love that at this point. And that's not to say that I don't like him. And that's not to say that I don't think Conte could do a job. If Conte got the defenders, if Conte had a strong defense, we would be higher. We could be challenging for the title. Like, then when your defense is strong, then you can work on counter movements. Then you can figure out plans of how to attack. I think I vision them spending all training sessions trying to get that 5-4 right. Trying to, Sonny, no, you don't attack today. No attacking for you today. Stop attacking. You've got to play that left side. You've got to help Perisic because he's incredibly dead. He's an OAP. He's like a geriatric fuck with a kind of, what's that thing the old people with a
Zimmer frame.
I swear this guy's going to be crosses in next year behind a Zimmer frame. So I think it could work if he had the right personnel. But then Daniel Levy was never going to give him a world-class backline. So it was just the wrong coach from the start. So I think and I don't want to see him wait till the end of the season and go, well, we'll see what happens. It's like, we need to know. We need to start the end of the season. We need to start the window with a manager. We can't be looking 7, 8, 9 weeks into the window without a manager. So for me, it's like, if he's not going to be, just go. Like, dude, just go. You don't want to be here. Just go. Please just go.
What if we keep winning in the Champions League, though, even though he, in his mind he might be leaving? Like, would it be worth keeping him around if he does somehow, get us to a semi-final or something of a Champions League or something like that?
It's weird though. It's like, yeah, that you get like the match income, but even a semi-final doesn't really float my boat. It doesn't flick my bean,
So you wouldn't get excited for a Champions League semi-final?
No, I'd rather the manager just know early. Like, I'd rather not get our hopes up. And obviously, because I think it's a kind of a seesaw. If we get to semi-final, I think we're probably 10th in the league. I think our league form will just be so, obliterated. And I am someone who, like, the only hope, like, obviously, if we go out tomorrow night, like, if we stay in, there is a bit of hope because you're like, we met the season we actually stay in. There's a bit of
What's going on here? One sec. Ashmatic has gone live. What is
that? My screen, Ash.
What? Oh, there you go. Didn't even know he was still there. Didn't even know he was still in the back end. Well, that was weird. Proper hijack. Anyway, Brains, you're back.
Yeah, so I was just saying, like, obviously, like, the season we got to the final, we kind of were pretty diabolical in the league as well that season. So, yeah, there is that hope that we could, like, I'd love to get to the final, and on any given day, let's pull out that 5-4-1 formation in the final and try to take it to penalties.
Oh, bring it on. Bring it on.
Let's bore our way to a Champions League win. But it's just like I also do think the only other hope is getting into the top four, and then a new manager comes in and you still get players who want to play Champions League football next year. That's the only other thing. But yeah, I kind of think this game, if we're out this, it's getting harder and harder to really care too much about looking forward to game days. I had a lot of tickets bought, and I'm looking at my tickets that I've got for upcoming games, and I'm just like, Jesus. I'm just trying to get rid of these tickets. I'm becoming a touter. I'm selling.
Don't say that too loudly.
Yeah.
You're going to get it done. You're going to hear a knock on your door soon.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know, man. I really hope that it's more about what you want to see in these games is you just want to see good football. You want to see like if you don't see good football, you want to see spirit. The things that we've not seen, like the second half against Wolves, there's just no spirit, and that's why I'd like to see more of Sarr, because I think he's got a bigger heart for the game than most players in our squad. I just think he's just a kid who just wants it a little bit more. And that's why sometimes I actually like the idea of Sarr and Skip together, because they have big hearts. They want to play, And so, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to Wednesday, though, given our home form actually recently is pretty good. We've beaten Man City, we've beaten Chelsea, we've beaten West Ham, all at home without conceding. Even in the Champions League, in the group stages, we didn't lose any home games. We beat Marseille 2-0, we beat Frankfurt 3-2, and we drew at home to Sporting, although we definitely should have won that game. So AC Milan as well, they've only won one of their last 5 away games in the Champions League. So there's a lot of hope going into tomorrow that we do have a really good chance of getting through.
No.
No? No, nothing?
No.
Just straight up, nah.
Nah. If you're a Spurs fan and you have hope of Spurs winning games, seriously, I'll give you my hit me up, DM me, I'll give you my therapist number. You need to get help. We need to get help. We can't be coming and saying that we're going to beat these teams 2, 3, 4. Every time I hear predictions, my heart does a little flutter. And it's ooh, okay, it's not all that bad. Then I remember, no, idiot, this is Spurs. What do you think? As soon as you get your heart up, as soon as you get your belief up, we just don't turn up. We give the worst performances. And we don't only just lose narrowly, we lose dreadfully. We lose looking like the shittest team on the planet. So for me, it's no, I'd rather go into the game going, my prediction for AC Milan is them to win 5-0. And if I'm surprised, then great. That's amazing. But I think AC Milan are going to sit back and they're going to do they're going to bore us to sleep. We're not going to be able to create unless Kane kind of puts the ego aside and knows that Kjaer and other players, defensive midfielders or the other center backs are going to just do a number on him, like everyone does to him. He's really got to adapt his game. He's really got to understand when you are a potent striker as him and you take up those number 9 runs, you're too easy to shut down after a while, especially as the older he gets. He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the quickness to get away from them. So then he's got to think a little bit cleverer. He's got to fall deep. Don't let them come anywhere near him and play make. And then allow that space for Sonny to make the number 9 runs.
All right. So you really think we're going to go out tomorrow? You got no hope of us going through?
No hope, absolute devastation, none whatsoever. And that my therapist says that's the best way to look at it.
Then you can't be disappointed.
Because then you can't. Because if I go you know what, fuck it, yeah, we're gonna destroy them. We're gonna absolutely destroy them. And then we turn up and players just shit all over your heart. They just destroy. They take you for granted. They take the shirt for granted, and then you're sitting there if anyone's like me, sometimes I want to have a knife in my hand so I can just stab my legs. Just no. wow, like what the heck, like just to feel a difference from watching how dreadful they are. They don't track back. They don't work hard enough for each other. When they don't have their heads up, everything goes. You can see, and all this is loser mentality. The club is steeped in it. Certain players know, like when the tough gets going, they just fold, and that's a dreadful mentality. Dyer has it. Davies has it when he's pressured. Perisic is just an old OAP. It's not about mentality with him. His legs don't work anymore. But other players, they just don't have it. So that's why it's a case of like, there's no point getting your hopes up and feeling good for the 10 minutes before the game starts. I'm gonna be like, because normally I'll meet like with Sai, we'll have a croissant, we'll get all gay about the game, like woohoo! We'll get all happy. We'll start like dancing around, like whoa, like singing songs, watching the players. They come out, we're like, yeah, we totally forget how dreadful we've been and how much we absolutely hate them when they play bad. We're like, yeah, I love you, man. Come on, and then they walk out on the pitch. And someone, Dyer, like makes the most ridiculous mistake ever. And then I'm just screaming how much I want to kill Dyer and how much I'm like trying with voodoo every single day to kill this man. I don't know how long I can be, doing voodoo.
So what's happening is it's not killing him, but it's forcing him to make mistakes. That's what's happening. It's really awful. The voodoo's not strong enough. It's just diminishing his quality. That's all that's happening. It's your fault, Brent.
I've been doing on the team. I've been studying the dark arts all season long to try and kill Eric Dyer, and I think all it's doing is just making his penis smaller and his mentality levels. He's
about to head it back to the keeper, and that voodoo hits him, but it doesn't quite hit him fully, so he just like fucks up a bit. He's like, oh shit, and then all of a sudden the head has gone to Mo Salah, and it's 1-0. So you have to take blame for that.
Absolutely. So that's my match day process normally. So tomorrow I'm going to turn up and I'm just going to be Stelios tomorrow. I'm going to turn up like Danny Kaye. I'm going to turn up and I'm just going to be like, why we have any hope, or why are we smiling? Why are we smiling? Don't anyone smile around me. We've walked into the Lions Den. It's our home game, and we're going to get battered by these cunts. So, yeah. In terms
of lineup, there's a lot of worry about Perisic playing, but do we have a choice but to play him tomorrow with no Dyer there?
I wouldn't play him. I'd put Emerson Royal there. I'd play Emerson at right back, Romero at centre, Longley at left back, and then put Ben Davies at the only place on the park that he's relevant at now. So yeah, I'd have Ben Davies at left wing back any day of the year than Perisic. It's just Perisic.
Would you rather have Sanchez at centre back than Perisic at left?
I would rather Sanchez was not an existing human. I would rather him be off the earth. Like, I don't want to ever see him in a Spurs shirt again. The guy gets tackled by air. Like a skillful enough, proficient bundle of air can take the ball off Sanchez. So no, I don't want that. That's too. No, my nerves can't take that. I could get arrested if he's playing tomorrow. Legit. Please, for the love of God, I hope he's not playing. So no, I think Emerson Royal is a way more competent defender than Tanganga, than Sanchez, than Dyer. So put him at right centre back. Obviously, this is not going to happen because it's too sensible. It's too sensible.
So we're saying Emerson right centre back, Romero on the centre, Longley left, Davis wing back, and Porro on the right.
Porro on the right. Porro, like, genuinely, before he got pulled off, he was the only person like gearing up the crowd. He was taking shots. He looked like he broke through his horrible little thing he was going through when he came. He looked like he just pierced the veil of like, okay, I'm here. Like, I've got a shot off. And sometimes that's all attacking players need to do is just get that shot off. Him hitting that crossbar was such a pivotal moment. The fact that they then took away the next free kick, you never do that. Because his zone, his scope for his rifle is just millimeters off. Why does he not take the next one? That was so unbelievably egotistical and horrid for Harry Kane to take that. It was in a better position for him as well. Harry Kane has when have you hit? How do you deserve? How do you get it in your brain that you deserve to take that free kick? You're a striker. You do not take free kicks. You've never not hit the wall. You've never not hit the wall. You know, like Porro's gun is just a few. He just has to adjust the scope a few little millimeters. Harry Kane has got like a big banana gun firing fucking marshmallows. Boom, boom, boom. Like it's useless. Like it's not going to score. So yeah. So for me, I think Porro deserves maybe like a chance, and then any free kick we get, we just give to him. But again, Conte is not going to say, Harry Kane, you are useless at free kicks. You're not taking free kicks. You know he's not going to say that.
Because Kane, when he's on the pitch, people listen to him and he'll call the shot. He's saying, if he says, I've got this free kick, then there's nothing. Then that's it. He's got the free kick. He's got a lot of power in that dressing room, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and that's the state of play. Brains, what's your score prediction then going into tomorrow?
5-0 Milan.
5-0 Milan. Is that your therapist's recommendation?
That is my therapy scoreline. But in all honesty, even the most hopeful scoreline I could say is 0-0, and Milan go through on one goal. I don't think we score against Milan.
I think I'm just hoping our home form is enough to be able to
take
us through tomorrow.
And I have a therapist waiting for you. I've told them all about it. I told them, dude, there's these two brothers. They're not far from here. You'll be seeing them soon, okay? And then you'll have Brian Daigle and you'll have Ashmatic right along behind you. Although Brian Daigle probably doesn't need the therapy because he's well aware of this shit. His hope bar is nowhere to be seen. I think the healthiest people in this fan base are Brian Daigle, Danny Kariakou, and Stelio.
Because they can see the building burning and none of us can see it. And they're going crazy. Hey, it's burning! It's burning! We're like, shut up.
and you and Ben are like, what's that smell? What's that smell? Everyone else is jumping at the windows on fire.
Is that Paratici cooking?
Oh, man.
Nice one, bro. Good to see you.
Well,
and hope I'll catch you tomorrow then at the game.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow at the game. I'm off to therapy now. Catch you fuckers later.
See you soon. Nice one, Brains.
Yeah.
Always good at having Brains McLeod on. And talking of Brian Daigle, let's bring him on. Let's see what he's got to say. Brian Daigle is in the building, people.
How are we doing, Simeon, brother? How's everyone in the chat?
Look, you'd think people would be more excited about a Champions League last 16 home tie tomorrow. We need to win to get through to the quarterfinal, which is a stage which Conte's only gone. That's the furthest he's ever gone, is a quarterfinal. So you would think it's a big occasion for him. So what are you feeling going to the game tomorrow?
I said it when I came on to you with Wolves, and Brace just said it for me. The best I'm going for again is a draw, and we go out. I just can't see it. We're on such a downward spiral. Going out of the FA Cup, I think it is massive, and I just can't see it. I can't see us getting through it. I can see a draw. I can see that, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough to get the job done.
But Brian,
yep.
AC Milan have lost their last. They've only won one of their last 5 away games, losing 3. They've lost their last away game as well against Fiorentina. Spurs, on the other hand, when you take in their home form, unbeaten this season at home in the Champions League, winning 2 of them, and we've won our last 3 home games 1-0, 2-0, and 2-0 in a row. So is there not reason to be hopeful that we can actually, beating the likes of Man City there as well, beating Chelsea, who beat AC Milan twice in the group stage. We beat Chelsea 2-0. So is there not reason to be hopeful that we can overturn that deficit tomorrow?
I think it's the one saving grace that we are at home, that it could be another way. But the reason that I do this is, or say this is, Milan were in terrible form before we played them at home. And what do big boy clubs do? They get the job done. They're the current champions of Italy. They know how to get the job done. When it comes to us, and we know this is a game we have to get the job done, we can't do it. Beating Man City at home, we know we can do it. Beating Chelsea at home, yes, it was great, we did it, but we have to remember this was a bang average, and I mean bang average Chelsea side.
Who did the double over Milan in the group stages.
Yeah, but to me that's all coulda, woulda, shoulda. The only thing I'm saying is when the big boys come into town and the big boys need to get the job done, Milan get it done. As they did, they were in bad form going into the home leg.
Man City couldn't.
We'll have to wait and see, mate. Listen, I'd love us to win. I'd love to come onto the fan show tomorrow and go, do you know what? I got it wrong. Amazing. I'm so happy. I got it wrong. Brilliant. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. Don't think I say this just because I want us to lose, because I don't. As much as losing helps me with my Daniel Levy message, agenda, mission, whatever words you want to patronise or label me with, people, I want Tottenham Hotspur to win, and I want Tottenham Hotspur to win. I want Tottenham Hotspur to win silverware. I just can't see us doing it. I just can't.
Well, winning the whole Champions League is that's one thing, but you know, we tomorrow's just a chance to get to the quarterfinals. If you're looking at personnel and lineups, what's your thinking going to? How would you play things?
I would start with Skip and Sarr, to be serious. Højbjerg hasn't done well the last few games, and look what they did in Milan. I would love to see Skip and Sarr start. I agree with Brains. I don't want to see Perisic start. I was one that said when we signed Perisic, I thought that was the marquee signing of the season for us, one of the best of the window. How wrong was I? How wrong was I on that one? Unfortunately, I really thought that he would really make a difference. And since the World Cup, he just hasn't, has he? He made you could see his quality at the beginning, attack-minded, but you couldn't see it defensively. He starred for Croatia in the World Cup, but since he's come back from the World Cup, he's just not been at it. We look more defensively solid with Ben Davies. So I would definitely start with Ben Davies at the centre. But then it's a case of who do you play in defence? Then we've got a problem because Dyer's not there, isn't it? So, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Oh, Jesus. I didn't even think of that. See, this is the kind of scenario we've got. This is the kind of issue we're having to deal with. Because I do not want to see Davinson Sanchez. Listen, I've gone on for years trying to defend Davinson Sanchez. So listen, when you need him for these one-off games, he normally pulls on. He normally pulls it off. But
we'll probably play Davis on the left, Romero on the right, and Longley in the centre.
In the centre, which means that we're going to have to play Perisic a wing-back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, the biggest changes I want to see is Skip and Sarr in midfield. And I think we've got to look at this attack. I don't want to see Son starting. I'd rather he come on and make an impact. I'm kind of don't understand or don't know if we should start with Kulu and have him come on as an impact. But then the question is, do we give Danjuma minutes? I mean, I don't know if people watched Danny Gold's video that he released yesterday, and he was talking about Danjuma's minutes. How are we meant to see if this guy, and apparently there's an option to buy at £21 million. He's had 7 minutes in the FA Cup. He's had about 9 minutes in the Premier League. And about 11 in the Champions League. How are we meant to see if this guy is worth investing in if he doesn't get the minutes? So I think Kane has to start for obvious reasons. And then it's just let's just say we drop some. Do we start with Richie? Do we start with Danjuma? Danjuma needs a try. You and me know what we think about Richarlison. So they're the three main changes I'd like to see. I think the defence is now having to pick itself with Dyer's injury. I mean, suspension, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's having to pick itself. So I would like to see Skip and Sarr, and then Richarlison and Danjuma, or Danjuma and Richard. One of the two would be my three changes.
Brian,
what about you, Tim?
For me, I just think I would keep with Perisic. I would, as much as I don't really want to, considering his form, I think that if we don't play him a wing back and the fact that we need to win this game, I don't know if we're going to get the creativity from from anywhere else right now, unless we play Porro on the right. But I think we need Emerson on the right because Leao and Teo Hernandez are just too dangerous. So I think we need them there. We need him there, with Romero. So I don't think we have a choice, in my opinion. I think Perez suggests to go there. The front three, difficult. I would just keep it Son, Kane and Kulusevski and see what they can do. I think they've been pretty good in the Champions League. I know Richarlison scored a double against Marseille, but I would keep it at home. I think they're our best three. I think if we're going to score, they're the most likely to make it happen. So that's what I would do. And people might say, look at this game and that game and the form and whatever. But for me, they're our best players, and that's what I would keep for this game. And I think if we need to drag ourselves through it, and I'm hoping they're going to step up for us. When it comes, Brian, what's your reaction to the Athletic article today suggesting a lot of the players? There's a general feeling between the players that Conte will be leaving at the end of the season, and that he said apparently many players are getting tired of his intense training methods.
Well, do you know what? The more I take out of this is how pathetic our players are. How many times do we hear that word intensity with training sessions? It was a problem with Poch when he left. With everyone, it's intensity of training, intensity of training. Big boys, grow up. Grow up. That's what these managers... Poch was trying to establish something and do something, you threw him under the bus. Mourinho came, was trying to do something, you threw him under the bus. Nuno, we won't even speak, I didn't get the time. And then Conte comes in. Listen, I think Conte's gone. And after the Wolves game, I was first from being as much as I am Conte in, was starting to sit. I was kind of, listen, either the club offer you a contract and you sign it or piss off now. Because it's just, this is a divorce waiting to happen, isn't it? It's just, when does this divorce actually become official? It's like they told the kids that, yeah, we're separating, but we're not making it public yet. For us to hear that from the players, once again, is the players' mentality, the players' integrity, the players going, oh, this is too hard, he's taking my lunch money. Grow a pair. Grow a pair and goddamn deal with it. This manager has won more than you combined. And I don't like it. He's asking me to run harder or faster or longer or to put extra. You get paid famously well for doing a job, so do it. Stop bitching and moaning and do it. And if you are bitching and moaning, leave. Go to another manager and then complain about them, because this has happened time after time with managers. So yeah, Conte, for me, it's a divorce waiting to happen, unfortunately. I've been hearing things similar. I don't know if you have. If we go out badly tomorrow, this divorce could be a lot quicker than we think. A lot quicker than we think. And we'll have to see. But for me, this is all on the players. Yes, Conte's football style has been called into question, everything, but to say, oh, the players are intense. Grow a pair, bitches. Honestly, start doing some work and training hard, and you might get the rewards.
Yeah, I feel like these players, again, like if that's the message they're coming out with from sources, that's very, very frustrating. And, considering what we've heard under previous regimes, as you said, under Mourinho and under Pochettino, another great manager coming here and looking to win trophies, and then all of a sudden they get complaints by players about training and all these different things, is very, very frustrating. It's like a lot of the time, a lot of these players can't win, considering the messages are coming out, which is very frustrating. But Brian, what's your prediction going into tomorrow then?
I'm just going to quickly add on to what you said as well, and then I'll give you my prediction. What you got to remember as well, and I've said this before, when you're buying a player, you spend the money on the big valuation, on the big players. It's not just for what they do on the pitch. It's their mentality. It's the way they conduct themselves. It's not just, okay, you can do this on the pitch. You're buying a player for his mentality, his personality, his contribution, or what he'll do, his leadership, his everything. It's not just what he does with his feet. And when we buy these cheap fucking knockoff players, you're getting cheap knockoff goddamn mentality, temperament, everything. I'm not saying every single player has to be like a 60, 70, 80 million pound plus. Look at Ndombele. But I mean, these cheap little players that we keep over and over and over and over again. It's no coincidence that blooming 3 managers have said this, and those players are still at that club. Those players are still at the club and able to say this, and there's no goddamn coincidence. Get them out, get players in, whether it be with Conte or the next manager, and deal with it. But my prediction, mate, like I said, I went positive for Wolves with a 1-1 draw, forgetting that we could lose. So I'm just going to go with a draw. I think it could be a 1-1, a 2-2, or a 2-2. I think there'll be goals, but I just can't see us getting the job done. And if we do, I will be straight on this fan show apologising for saying what I said. But I just can't see it, brother.
All right, Brian. Good to see you as always, mate.
Always a pleasure.
We'll chat to you in a bit, and I'll speak to you soon.
You certainly will. And as always, Levy out.
All right. That was Brian Daigle. What's going on?
It's just glitching for a sec. It's alright. We can get Ash on.
All right. Let's bring him back, I guess. Ash is back in the building.
Yo, what's going on, man? Sorry about before.
No, it's all right. Yeah. So look, let's get. I guess we didn't get your full prediction then because you kind of cut out near the end of what you were saying. So tomorrow, taking everything into account, the form and the setups and stuff. Well, how do you think it will go?
Yeah, I was basically just wanting to make a quick point on why we're not creating so many chances before I give the prediction, because we've created chances outside the box, but last season Son was scoring inside the box, and this season he's been shooting a lot out of the box. I mean, most of his goals have come from outside the box. The 5 goals he scored have been from outside the box. Harry Kane, as much as he's scored 18 goals, I know that from open play, he hasn't scored as many from open play. I know that he scored 9 goals. 9 goals, I think it was, from open play. And 5 of those were actually with his feet. And so that is the same amount as Son. So as good as Harry Kane is looking, when you take that into consideration, there's been some type of problem from open play. So my thing is, why are we not creating more goals in open play? Why is that not happening? Is it to do with the front 3? Is it to do with the double pivots? Is it to do with the wide players? Is it to do with the 3 at the back? Is it to do with the goalie? I think it's to do with all of the above. But I think the front 3 need to take responsibility. I don't know if it's an instruction for them to be more central and not run into the box. I don't know if that's been an instruction. But I think the lack of movement from the front 3 has been an issue for myself. When I looked at Wolves' last goal, if you remember, it was Martinho, the double pivot, who pushed high up, and he put a ball into Jimenez. Now, how Jimenez creates that space, he drops off one of our defenders to create a small pocket of space. It wasn't a massive drop off, what you see from Kane. You know, Kane really drops into midfield and receives the ball. What Jimenez did, he ran off from the outside of the box. He was in the box, then he came outside the box. Just a small couple steps, just to create that space so he gets away from our defender. Then that first touch, he opens his body up and he dribbles on the outside. He dribbles onto the outside into the box, takes a shot and forces a save. Now, I know Kane has got that in his locker. So that's what I would like to see. The little pockets, little darts, little changes of directions to receive the ball, to pop shots off. Same with Son. The same with Kulu. Do you know what I mean? Kulu's been doing it, but I need to see that more. And I just feel like they're very rigid in their where they start from in their position in that front 3. And I think they're easy to mark out of the game because of their lack of movement in that central space. They need to sometimes start off, move off in the different directions, swap positions, pick up the ball, open their body up a lot more. Son's been doing better because he hasn't been dribbling in as deep. He's been taking a touch, he's been passing, and then he's been running into that space a little bit more. So then that's how he's able to get a bit more confidence, get more shots. I think against Wolves, when he did have his chance inside the box, he should have put that away. A confident Son puts that away. So I also think confidence has an element to it. Kane has missed a lot of big chances as well. And Perisic has put a lot of balls into the box. Even that chance where Kane came on in the second half against Sheffield United, he had that header that was from a Perry cross. And if he scores that, then we're not really complaining about Perry's crosses. Equally, against Milan, Perry puts the ball into Dyer's head. Dyer headers it down and over. If Dyer headers that, no one's complaining about Perisic's crosses into the box. We just haven't been as clinical from the front three. And then I go back to those double pivots. You saw how high Wolves midfielders were creating chances, passing in between the lines. I do feel like if a Højbjerg or even if a Sarr is further forwards, I mean, Sarr's not bad. Sarr gets forward. He does get forward quite a lot and he pops shots off. But I just feel like someone like Højbjerg, if he's joining the attack, he has the vision to pass those balls into the box, those first-time balls that hurt teams because their teams aren't set. I think that can help us as well. So you've got three areas there. You've got the wide positions, you've got the players up front, you've got the midfield too. I like Sarr because he dribbles with it. I know Højbjerg doesn't really dribble with the ball like that. He does carry the ball sometimes, but he doesn't dribble like Sarr will complete his dribbles. And then again, you've got the back three. The back three, Romero's our best passer, but in that game against Milan, he didn't complete many long passes forward. He needs to be contributing a lot more long balls forward into that game if we are to hurt Milan. And I think it's the speed of thought, it's the quickness, and it's about changing tactic. It's about short passes. A lot of the time, Spurs have been doing short passes this season. If we do short passes, then transition into a long pass, then we'll hurt teams. We'll catch them off guard and we'll turn the tie over. Now, coming back to my prediction, I think Spurs can get the job done. And I haven't taken my meds yet, brains. So I'm not, there's no brains underneath here. Don't worry, it is actually. But literally, because I haven't taken my meds, and I put my hand on you, Sim, I said, look, it's the hope that kills you. It's the hope. And I still have that glimmer of hope in my eye. That home record you showed me, I think Spurs played better against bigger teams, bigger oppositions, name brand teams. We seem to turn up. And I feel like if Spurs are on the cosh and we do go early, an early change of formation, an early substitution, we can swing things around. 3-5-2, I know it hasn't been quite popular and we haven't used it for quite a while, but I feel like if we change to a 3-5-2 in game and we put three in the middle at times and we compact that midfield and we just dominate that possession and we dominate that area. And like I said, we use Højbjerg as a playmaker and we push it forward a lot more. We can cause Milan a lot of problems because they can get up. They're not that good, you know. Milan aren't that good. We're giving Milan too much respect. They've come out the top four. They're fifth in the league at the moment.
Behind Jose's Roma.
Exactly, behind Jose's Roma. So, and when you look at that, Spurs do play better against. We get up for these big teams. The 3-5-2 flopped against United, and I think that flopped against United because we were away and our away form isn't good. So that's the reason why sometimes if the 4-4-2 is not something we need to go to, a 3-5-2 can also work as well. But I am a fan of a 4-4-2 as long as Son's playing up top as well and he can impact and he doesn't go wide. But Dan Juma, I agree with Brian. I said it before about his statistics and his take-ons. I think he needs to have more of a run of games. We need to see what this guy is about. We need to see if he's a flop or not. And he does like to hug the width. He just gives us a lot more width. So he can be deployed as a false nine as well. But I just want to see us mix things up. And the front three need to be interchangeable. We can't be too rigid. And the centre-backs need to push up. They need to be aggressive, Romero included. And that's it, man. I think we'll do like I said before I broke up, I was going for a 2-0 even, a 2-0. Or even if they did score, I think we still have enough to push it over. So either a 2-0 or 3-1, but I'm going to go for a 2-0. Hopefully the defence would be solid and we can be aggressive. I know Dyer's not on the pitch, but if Longley does push up against Giroud, he'll get bullied. Or if Romero helps him out and swaps over, because there's certain times you need to communicate and say, look, I can't handle Giroud at the moment. I need you to swap over. And Romero just takes out Giroud, and then Kulu helps out with Romero. Kulu helps out with Emerson when it comes to a Leao. Then I think we've done half a job there, and that's it.
Right.
I don't know what to say.
Ash, big up to you. Go, everyone, check out Ash Matic on the watch along tomorrow. Izzo, he's gonna be in.
Wait! Breaking news! I might not be on the watch along because I've swapped over with Danny K, man. Danny K.
See, things are happening right now in front of our eyes. You're seeing news break.
Yeah, Danny, I did him a favor. I've done him a favor, so Danny K is going to take my place. I wanted to do it, but I'm a man of my words, and I'm humble enough to bow out if Danny K wants to do it. It's only fair, it's only right. So yeah, you'll see Danny K instead of myself, man.
All right, well, big up to you anyway, Ash. Good to see you. Appreciate your time on the match preview today as well.
No
and
worries.
we'll see you very, very soon.
Peace and love, man. Big up.
Nice
Come
one,
on, you
bro.
Spurs. We can do it.
Come
We can
on.
do it. Go!
Come on. Someone's hopeful at least. Big Ash. Let's keep going. We've got Sai in the house. Let's get him on. Sai, how are we doing today? You been writing notes? You getting ready?
I haven't written any notes.
No notes.
Just found out. Yeah, how's it going, guys?
All good, Sai. Good to see you, my man.
Yeah.
Are you as confident as Ash, or you like Brian and Brain? So you're like, there's no chance we're getting through tomorrow.
So I feel like it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster every week, actually, because after the weekend, you go into a depressive mode of we're not going to do well the next game, and that I've had, and then whatever happens, I watch this channel daily as a routine, as everyone else does, whether it be in the background or watching it. And then the enthusiasm starts kicking in, the delusion starts kicking into my mind to suggest that we might actually do something interesting tomorrow night. So I've gone perhaps from a bit more skepticism over the weekend to a bit more positivity over the last day or two. So I wouldn't say like I'm massively enthusiastic or anticipating anything majorly exciting for tomorrow, but what can we do as Spurs fans? You know, I've got a ticket. I should be going. Get my croissant, as Gavin rightly said earlier today. That's the only main reasons I go, is to sit in Wood Green in a nice cafe called Charlie's, very nice croissant and eggs Florentine. And whatever the result is afterwards determines how exciting that journey home is afterwards. But I have to go and I have to support the team. But yeah, the question remains whether I'm confident or not. I really can't answer that because this season's been an absolute mess, to be honest. And I don't know what Tottenham team turns up each week. It really depends on who's playing, doesn't it? So
100%, and depends as well how the players are feeling and what we're hearing from the Athletic. You know, that a lot of the players feel that Conte will be gone at the end of the season. A lot of they're starting to complain about the intensity of training methods and things like that. Although Sonny today said that everyone's happy that the boss is back and is going to give the team new energy. So, what is your thoughts when you hear these kind of things being leaked?
Obviously, like it depends on how legitimate that information is, of course. But if you remember the pre-season aspects when a lot of some had gone, when they were doing those crazy laps where I can't remember, they were in Korea, weren't they? South Korea. So you could see there was a bit of strangeness towards that. And I think that's probably something that carried on throughout the year. Whether that's something that has continued from that moment or it's just as the season's gone on, they're getting more tired. But I don't really like that excuse because any of the other top teams don't have this issue and they've got a mixed age group of players, most of them, to be honest, as well. But yeah, I guess it really depends on like whether that information is legitimate or not in the first place. But more importantly, I don't really have any interest in people being tired and stuff. Like, we all get tired as humans, and that's totally understandable. That, you know, some players should be managed in the right way and not play every single week. That doesn't mean like tinker the team every 5 seconds like Chelsea do and everything like that. But, you know, just be responsible with, like, okay, you know, some players get into that 30-odd year old stage that do maybe need to have a bit of a rest here and there, which is totally understandable. Like, I'm 35 now and I feel the tiredness and I don't even run around the fields, right? So, like, there's a bit of a mix of that aspect of it. But yeah, in terms of Conte and everything like that, I never thought that he would be here beyond this coming summer, to be honest. Like, the contract was till 2023. There was all this kind of like conspiracy around, Jose's contract, Nuno's contract, Pochettino's contract when he's at PSG, all running out at the same time in this summer 2023. Who knows what happens behind closed doors and conversations? But I never really thought he would be there long term. And I think it's hopefully done him some good to be away from the game for a bit. Maybe he might become a bit more re-energized with the club and what his job and responsibility is. Not saying that he didn't before, but you never know. These little breaks can do the wonders of the world sometimes. So it'd be interesting to see what he's like. I don't think we can question his passion and his enthusiasm to football in general. You see the sideline cameras; he's very excited and infused all the time. But, you know, at the end of the day, he's not got arguably the best quality players that he would normally have had in previous teams, and that's just something that he's got and have to have got used to. But the systems, in my opinion, haven't been working. I don't think he's got the right players to still do those systems, which is probably one of the big reasons why it's not worked. But there's sometimes you just got to all sit back as a collective party and say, like, this just isn't going to work anymore. Move on. And as Ash said, and many other people before me in this chat, is, you know, Conte would have signed a new contract by now. Let's be realistic here. Like, this should have been done a long time ago if it was that important and that serious. It's not happened. And the players will feel that. There's no doubt about it. The players aren't stupid. They're in the crowd and in the club every day, to analyse this situation. Some players might have stayed because Conte's here or not have moved on. And I think some of them will have that effect. It's almost like, oh, well, if he's not going to be here at the end of the season, I'm not going to bother anymore. I mean, I'd like to think they're a bit more professional than that, but you never know. And we've seen that mentality with a lot of players, not just at Tottenham, but across the globe, of how they react to things like this. So it's just another typical Tottenham mess, really, isn't it? One thing after another. Can't seem to get anything right for a longevity. That's what frustrates me the most.
How for you, Si? How much of this season is riding on what happens on Wednesday? Is it if we do go out? Is that are you like, what are you good feeling towards the rest of the season if we do go out on Wednesday?
I think there's going to be a lot of negativity pulling in even further than there was last week. I think we already had negativity from this season. The FA Cup was an absolute disgrace. I think everyone's covered that. I won't go over it in massive detail. I just kept away from football for a few days, to be honest, because I was just like so livid. What is great is more people are becoming aware of it, and especially even media now attentioning to the fact, like, what are Tottenham actually doing? What is their actual ambition and strategy? Who knows? This is a prime opportunity for silverware and to get to the next leg, but we didn't do that. Saturday, the weekend comes along. You know, Wolves are a difficult team, let's be honest. Like, I know they've had not the greatest of seasons, but Molineux is a difficult place to go. We need to be on the ball. We didn't turn up. So this Wednesday is just another circus around the merry-go-round, right? Where we're sitting there going, well, if we win, absolutely brilliant. And when you assess the end of the season, you go, well, actually, whether we get top 4 or if it's top 6, wherever it might be, but we get to a very late stage of Champions League, some people argue that that's a minor success in some ways, irrespective of the silverware that's coming in or out. But the fact of the matter is, like, I want to see a performance tomorrow. I want to see a reaction. And it's ironic that literally 2 weeks ago, Stellini went on about in his press conferences about consistency, then drops half the team for last week. And then the last 2 games have been absolutely appalling. So this consistency won't happen this season. There's no doubt about it. But what we can do, and what we have done randomly so far, is turn up to specific games when we potentially really needed to in that instance. So hopefully tomorrow is a positive outcome. Of course, we all want that. But if it goes the other way, Champions League is very difficult. Milan, it's arguably a one-off game in respective to the first leg the other week. The fact of the matter is it will dampen the season, because then it's almost like, well, we've not really got anything to play for. I don't think there's a huge encouragement like there was last year to even have consistency to get into that top four. Last season, if you remember, there was a bit of a catalyst of games going our way on a relatively consistent basis. And this year, it's almost like it's all over the bloody place. No one knows what they want to do, how many points we want to get, how many wins. It's just mad. So I do wonder. Forest is arguably, I hate using this word, it's one of the potential easier games of the season. But I've said that so many times, and then we go and lose those kind of games where we could pick up the points to really try and emphasise that for. Because Liverpool breathing down the necks, absolutely. And a couple of others will be doing so over the next few weeks. We have to be on the ball. And I'm just really kind of sad and disappointed that we didn't take that FA Cup seriously. Tomorrow is a great opportunity to go for another level. Daniel Levy will want it because he loves the money. And just get hopefully a bit of positivity in for the weekend ahead. Because if we do lose tomorrow, I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of really sad, depressed people there at the weekend, if they show up at all, to be honest, because I don't blame people not turning up to the games anymore. It's that depressing most of the time. Bit of a difficult one.
Si, what's your prediction then? What do you reckon?
I usually say 3-1 to Tottenham every single bloody time, but I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, like hand on heart, I wouldn't be surprised if we lost or drew this game tomorrow. But I'm going to go with my heart at the moment and just say we might just scrape through with a 2-1 win or something, or maybe at least go to extra time. Who knows? I hope it doesn't, because it's a long journey home for me. But who knows, man? I've given up on predictions in the principle. I have no idea what Spurs team's going to turn up tomorrow. So as I said, I'm going to enjoy my croissant. I'm going to enjoy my eggs Florentine, and who knows what happens after that.
All right, Si, lovely to see you, my man, and we'll speak to you very soon.
I love you guys. Good to see you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
All right, and I think he's the last caller, I guess. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you for all the contributors to the preview stream, all the comments, all the likes, all the super chats. Appreciate all you guys. We have to get going. We've got limited time, so that we're going to end the stream there. But thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.